This is the letter R that I'm carving into two pieces of cherry for a friend. This is one I just already finished, and the second one I'm going to show you how I did it. I traced the pattern out onto the cherry, and then I went around with a veiner and I cut down in about half the distance that I wanted to go. This will allow me to use the router to get a different level on the inside of the R. I already traced the outer lines of the R, and then later I'm going to put in a scroll pattern that you'll see me do later on. I actually did quite a bit of cutting, but I have to sharpen the tool right now. I use a work sharp, and you can see through the wheel to what you're sharpening. And I like to put a black felt marker line on there. That way you can see exactly what you're cutting off. The sandpaper is on the underside of that wheel. It has slots so you can see through. After I get the edge ground on, I have a little leather strop that I've got mounted onto an electric drill. I like using this drill because it goes both directions and I can sharpen bench knives on it. In the buffer, I just have to take the burr off. Now I'm going to readjust my carving vise so I can get it flat and use the little hand router that I've got to route out the inside of that R. The router kicks up a lot of dust and chips, so I'm going to use a dust mask and some goggles because I'll be getting right down in there to see where I'm cutting. Most of this footage I did not show because it's kind of boring, monotonous, but I did show when I picked up the router and you can see where I've been carving. The bit I'm using is a 1/4 inch 2-flute carbide cutter with just a straight edge and a flat bottom. And I liked the texture that it left on the bottom, so I just flap sanded it with a big flap sander and smoothed it out, and it looked really good. It gave it some contrast with the outer wood. Now I'm going to take that same veiner that I used to start, and I'm going to cut down about the same distance that I did when I started. This will clean up any variations that you have from your router. I'm going to put my pattern back on and I'll peel it back, and you can see that I use a charcoal on the underside that kind of converts this printer paper into like a carbon paper. I'm just lining things up, and then I reran the design. I didn't put it on at first because I cut out everything on the inside of the R, and I wanted the line work to go through the R's themselves. Now I'm going to check against the first one that I did to make sure that my line work is the same. Then I'm going to start carving out. Some of the work I can just use my hands, but the cherry is so hard that I do need to use the mallet for most of it. And this is the final project. It's a dresser top that he inlaid. And his next project is going to be a headboard with the other R.